Like this place. We'd like to see.
All right, let's get started on this wonderful event. My name is Dr. Claire Luz. I'm associate professor in the Department of Family and Community Medicine at Michigan State University's College of Osteopathic Medicine. And I am the founding director of both AgeAlive and In Part Alliance, which you'll hear about in just a moment. And I am absolutely delighted to welcome you all here today for the 2026 MSU AgeAlive Education and Research Forum and Awards Ceremony. It's really wonderful to have all of you here with us today in East Lansing, as well as our friends that are joining us from Ishpeming in the UP, buried under a lot of snow, but here by Zoom. So AgeAlive, I think you may know a little bit about, but AgeAlive began as a passion project over 10 years ago with a small group of dedicated people, and it has accomplished so much since then, always highlighting the power of intergenerational connections, the healing arts as a way to engage community, but also to create a sense of belonging and a sense of connection to community, which is a really central component of well-being. AgeAlive has also been committed to lifelong opportunities and aging research, which is part of what we're celebrating today. This is all made possible by the AgeAlive staff, leadership council, volunteers, friends, and many other people over the years and who have supported us and still do because they see the value in this mission. As AgeAlive looks to expand our program to both meet the needs of the record number of people who are aging, we are also trying to prepare younger generations to respect and support all people, regardless of age or ability. So we reaffirm today the power of community, the power of lifelong learning, and of research to help us articulate what it is to age well, what aging well looks like, and to celebrate those who are working toward well-being throughout the lifespan. So closely related is an organization called In Part Alliance, whose primary role really is to help the state of Michigan build an infrastructure to expand, stabilize, and support the direct care workforce in response to a serious shortage of direct care workers, shortage of caregivers in general. So as most of you know, this shortage of direct care workers is in Michigan. It's in all states. And the direct care workers are the frontline workers who are most known for providing personal hands-on care and support that helps people live independently with dignity and respect. And it really isn't just about direct care workers because caregiving and direct care work, everybody relies on them. We are all touched by caregiving. Everybody has a caregiving story. I'm sure everybody in this room has some kind of caregiving story. All of the health systems in our state, all of the health programs, businesses, economy, really rely on them to function, and many families depend on them for invaluable support. So this forum celebrates and thanks the caregivers as well. And I invite everyone to learn more about In Part Alliance and the groundbreaking work that we're doing here in Michigan, which is actually garnering national attention, and it's providing a lot of people with much needed hope. The work in this forum is possible in part thanks to a substantial grant that In Part Alliance received from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And I believe I would like to recognize Lauren Swanson-April if she's here. Lauren Swanson-April, who is the project director from MDHHS and one of our best allies and advocates. So thank you, Lauren, for being here. I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude to our AgeAlive Leadership Council members whose dedication, care, and support have truly shaped the success of this year's forum, but AgeAlive in general. And in addition to our staff, the council members who are here, if you could just please stand briefly so that we can recognize you. I did see Jim Levandy, Dr. Levandy. Yes. One of our founding members. Dr. Paul Fredolino, who can't be here today, but sends his well wishes. He's in Vancouver giving a lecture. Zenit Katvel, who is, I just saw Zenit right there in the back. Dr. Katvel. Lucy Mallet. I don't know if Lucy's here today with us. Faison, Dr. Faison, Pat Lambert, Dr. Gliozzo, Rajiv Patgaonkar, Marna Wilson. I know Marna's here today with us. He's been with us for a long time. Dr. Charles Dewhurst, Jennifer Lamphere, and Gloria Covenant, all really important people. So a round of applause to our leadership. We also extend our heartfelt appreciation to our premier and event sponsors who are on the screen as well, whose generous support makes it possible for us to continue offering meaningful, high-quality programming. So all of our sponsors are listed on the slide, as well as a list provided to all of the registrants, and a special shout out to Impart Alliance, to the Tri-County Office on Aging, and to AARP. Also, outside, you may have noticed it on the way in, is the Impart Alliance's train. Well, let me back up just a minute. You might have noticed that gigantic vehicle out there. But let me first acknowledge all of the vendors here today and the resource tables. We have many, many vendors back there who are waiting to talk with you, to learn about their resources and services and give you little gifts. So please go back when you have a moment and take a look at all of these people, introduce yourselves, and many, many thanks to you for being here. So onward, other important information. There are 2 sets of restrooms located just outside the door. Important to know, just help yourselves to them, and also the coffee and the food whenever you like. And at the conclusion of today's event, you have an opportunity to look at Impart Alliance's new mobile training unit, which is outside. I was referring to it. We call it the MTU. It is a 45-foot long RV that has been retrofitted in order to provide an accessible home-like environment for training direct care workers and family caregivers in the basic, really basic skills such as body mechanics and home safety. So the demand for long-term supports and services for older adults and individuals with disabilities is growing, in part because of the aging of the population, especially in home and community-based settings, because this is where people want to live, right? We want to age in place if we can. And unlike other mobile units, the MTU is designed specifically for the direct care and caregiver workforce, and it increases access to training because we can take that now up into rural areas that don't have access to training right now. It is ideal for interdisciplinary training, high school career days, raising awareness about the value of direct care workers, but also of caregiving in general. And I do want to say that way in that back corner, we have Angela Partridge, who is our clinical site coordinator, and Chris Zera, who is our learning management system guru administrator. And they are anxious to talk to you about the MTU, but also about this other very cool mobile training unit that we now have, which is called, what we're calling it, a training lab or class in a box. So you may have noticed the van outside. Inside that van, we carry 4 boxes. We worked with Dr. Bill Resch, who is on the engineering faculty, and some of his engineering students who helped design this for their capstone project. And it's really exciting. Those boxes have everything needed in them in order to have a pop-up training lab anywhere. So we can take this up to the most rural areas now, pull up to a high school in, Sault Ste. Marie or Ishpeming, unload these boxes, have a pop-up training center, and train for a couple of days, and then pack everything up and come back to campus. It's really exciting. So take a look at that. They have partially set up a part of our training lab in the back corner. So we have the presence of that mannequin gracing our, which is fun to go look at and take a little more information from. So I Also want to draw attention to Dr. Carol Monson, who is sitting at a table back here promoting her very important book called Aging Optimally. And I just want to say to Dr. Carol Monson, thank you, because I realize that without her, we probably wouldn't be here today. The College of Osteopathic Medicine gave us an institutional home, and the dean at the time, Carol, was senior associate dean, senior advisor to the dean, and I think she helped convince them that AgeAlive was really worth supporting. So many thanks to Carol. Go get a copy of her book and she'll sign it for you. And then this entire event day is made possible by the tremendous efforts of our small but mighty, mighty team, including Erin Filipich and who's our program assistant, Lori Strom, special projects and outreach coordinator, longtime MSU affiliate, Heather Peacock, who's way up in Ishpeming with the crowd up there, and she's AgeAlive Strategic Engagement Officer, Chris Ward, right here, event coordinator extraordinaire, and Kelly Gavigan, who's our student intern and who is sitting here taking photographs and videotaping things for us. So special thank you to Luke Reese, our AV tech person who works with MSU Extension. And this, I think, is your third or fourth year. Luke, we really rely on you to do this for us. So many, many thanks. And now I am proud to turn the microphone over to Lori Strom, who is one of AgeAlive's original founders, longtime colleague and dear friend, who is going to take it from here. She's part of AgeAlive Special Projects and our outreach coordinator, and she's going to kick off our program for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning. Something happening this weekend in this town.
All right.
So
get it out of
glad.
the way.
Thank you. So glad you could all be here with us today. Hi to Ishpeming, our shout out to our friends up in the UP and to the other folks who are here on Zoom today. We're so glad you could join us. I cannot be here without recognizing Dr. Claire Luz. Please give a warm applause for her hard work, her persistence, her willingness to do whatever it takes to make sure that we are addressing these issues of aging. And March happens to be Women's History Month. And who better to recognize other than Claire Luz as a history-making woman? And so I'm so honored and pleased to have worked with you all these years. And our friendship goes back 20, 30 years now. But it's so heartfelt for me to be here with you and to know that you have worked so hard. She has sacrificed her personal life for these two programs. So without her persistence, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for all you do, Claire. And I think that in recognizing women who are powerful, which we have many of them here with us today, we have to give a shout out to AARP's founder, because they are one of our sponsors. Her name was Ethel Percy Andrus, and I love her quote, "Old age is not a defeat, but a victory, not a punishment, but a privilege." And we are here to follow in her footsteps of learning and growing and celebrating all the knowledge and all the opportunities we have. So I just had to get that in. Thank you. Thanks to Claire for being who you are. Now we are going to begin our forum with our MSU Aging Gems panel. And the panel features MSU researchers and their aging-related projects and the potential for creative partnerships, which I know Dr. Bush has already been partnering with the people at the resource tables today. And there will be time for questions at the conclusion of each presentation. So it's my honor to introduce the first Research Gem panelist. SitSense is a new approach to sitting in the home, in the hospital, and supportive care for injuries and diseases. Presented by Dr. Tamara, she likes us to call her Tammy, Reed Bush, Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Associate Dean for Inclusive Excellence at MSU. Dr. Bush is a professor of mechanical engineering, holds an adjunct position in the Department of Bioengineering, and also holds a position of Associate Dean for Inclusive Excellence in the college. She's nationally and internationally recognized for her research in biomechanics. Her work has impacted the fields of engineering mechanics, material science, modeling, medicine, and inclusion in STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math. Dr. Bush's research has received funding from the National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health, and numerous industries. Most recently, she received a National Science Foundation Partnership for Innovation, an award to support research and device development for persons with disabilities. Bush collaborates with hand surgeons to better understand hand function and biomechanical alterations that occur pre and post hand surgery. Finally, she is investigating ways to make autonomous vehicles accessible to persons who have a reduction in mobility. Dr. Bush will be discussing SitSense as a new approach to sitting in the home, in the hospital, and supportive care for injuries and diseases. Please welcome Dr. Tamara Reed Bush.
Thanks so much, Lori. Can you hear me? Is this one, it's on? Is it working? Yep. Okay. Nope, they can't hear me.
Go to the mic.
All right, maybe I'll use this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Watch, Lori. Oh, well, one of them's working. I'll just stick here. Okay. Yes, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the research that has moved to a point now that we're close to commercialization. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to start with just a little bit about me. I've done quite a bit of work. Thank you for the lovely introduction, Lori. She covered much of it, but pertinent to this topic is some of my seating work. I've done research in the automotive field, particular Johnson Controls and Adient. I've done some work in design and evaluation in office seating, Steelcase and Hayworth. I'm also working right now with Miller Knoll. And believe it or not, tractor seating, Case tractors. We had some work to help improve seating for those in tractors who are seated for hours upon hours during the day and into the evenings. But the one that I want to focus on today and what started this was some of the work in the medical space. So I was in a wound care clinic for a different project, and we were talking to some of the nurses, and a surgeon went by and he said, "Are you familiar with something called a pressure injury?" And I said, "No, I am not." And he said, "Come shadow me for the day." So I did. And one of the first patients, he walked us into the room, and the patient was laying face down on the table. And the surgeon said, "This patient has had this pressure injury for many, many months, and we're trying to get it to heal," and was on the bottom of his buttocks. The surgeon then took his hand and placed his hand all the way up to his knuckles into that wound. My graduate student proceeded to pass out into the chair next to it. And then I was quite shocked as to how deep, how long the person had it, and how really negatively impactful those wounds were. So at that time, we started thinking, how can we prevent these wounds? So that led us to develop SitSense. So for those of you who don't know, I'll give you a little brief synopsis. How do you get a pressure injury? Well, it can happen to anyone. It's when you are seated for long periods of time and you don't move. And now I'm talking about the seated posture. It can also happen when you're lying in a bed. So folks in the hospital who might have had surgery, might have had a car accident or a brain injury, and they are moved into a chair and they don't move on their own, are highly prone to pressure injuries. So it's that compression for a long period of time on the tissue that stops the blood flow, and then the tissue starts to have micro damage and then becomes a pressure wound. So this is really problematic. It's problematic in particular for hospital patients and older adults who, if they get a pressure injury, it is something they suffer from. There are 2.5 million pressure injuries just in hospital situations. So folks who are in a hospital and they get a pressure injury. It's also a problem for hospitals, because if they get a wound while in the hospital has to treat it, and it's not a reimbursable cost. So hospitals, a small to medium-sized hospital, spends $10 million a year. That's non-reimbursable cost to treat a pressure injury. And across the nation, hospitals spend $27 billion just in a year. So we did quite a few interviews. This is a mild pressure injury. And you can see a quote that we had from one individual that he had it for over 7 months and he thought he was going to die. He did end up healing from it, but he described to us the pain and the problems that he had. The other problem is, as I think Dr. Luz mentioned, is the nursing shortage. So in the hospital, the goal is to prevent these. And the standard of care is to have a caregiver or nursing staff come and shift the patient at least every 2 hours. But we have a nursing shortage. That doesn't happen all of the time. And as you can imagine, they have to really get in there, grab the person, move them around. They might shift them to the side, try and stuff a wedge in there or a pillow in there, transfer them from the bed to the chair. All of these are very physical. And because of that, 75% of our nurses get injured. That means they're not able to do their caregiving duties, and $16 billion is lost. So not only are we talking about financial challenges, but we're also talking about personal inability to work and pain and suffering. So what's the solution? This is the sit sense. I'm going to walk over here. So this is the first prototype of the chair moving, and this is a pressure distribution, and you can see how as the chair moves automatically, the pressure shifts. So the top sections there are along the back, and the bottom section as the buttock and thighs. Underneath the sit bones, your ischial tuberosities is one of the prominent areas for a pressure injury, the shoulder blades, and then the sacrum region. So what's unique about our chair is that it automatically moves. That was sped up 4 times, so 4 times the speed. So in actual use, it can be set to move every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. So much more frequent movement than what our standard of care currently is. So it's going to reduce the pressure sore risk and the nursing injury risk. So how does this work? Well, it might appear to be similar to a recliner that you see in a hospital or one that you might purchase in terms of like a lazy boy, but it has 5 unique segments and they all move independently. So we can create postures or body positions that no other chair can create. Plus, these are designed to move around anatomical pivot points so they move naturally with the body. Embedded in here, we also have pressure sensors. So those pressure sensors can tell us if regions of the body are experiencing pressure for long periods of time. If so, it can automatically readjust. We also have a time feature. So it could be pressure and or time. In the lab, we tested 40 some different postures, and from it, we came up with 12 that key shifted pressure from one body region to another, to a different one, then cycle back through with a series of unique positions. On the top right, you can see that's the buttocks. And here's another sample of the buttocks. So the top of that image is the thighs, and then the bottom is the back of the buttocks. So you can just see as we change postures, how the pressure shifts across there from loading the thighs, loading the back of the buttocks, loading the whole seat pan all in one. So you're never seated in the same posture for a long enough period of time to get a pressure injury. We also took that first prototype that I showed, the automatic moving one, and we built that in the lab. So it's kind of crude, but nurses were really excited about it. They wanted to sit in it. It had its pinch points. It was metal. It's kind of bumpy. We worked with Henry Ford Health and Trinity Health and over 75 different PTs, OTs, caregivers, nurse specialists sat in the chair and gave us some additional information. They wanted to see flip away armrests because it's going to move next to a bed and the patient's going to slide into the bed. They wanted to see it lie flat to also facilitate that movement into the chair. A sit to stand, they said, would be helpful for them, particularly when doing physical therapy. And we could integrate the chair alarm instead of them having to put a separate chair alarm over the chair. So due to their advice, our newest chair has all of these features. And this is our current prototype, which is being built in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I am slated to pick this up Wednesday morning. We're also going to be featuring it at the Innovation Celebration. This only has the front pads on it, so it will look more like this one on the right when it's all done. They've been sending us pictures as we go. As I said, we're partnering with other folks, and I see many of you here doing similar things and have similar interests. We are always open to partnerships, so feel free to contact me if you think your group or you have a loved one or you want me to know something that would help this. We love to hear from you. Future uses of this, of course, we're thinking home use. So right now for a nurse situation, we've got a touch screen. They would hit go. It would automatically move through these positions. Based on doctor's orders, they could tap out certain positions. We think the home use case is also one that can also be in the home use, internet connected with an app so that you would know if you have a friend or loved one in a chair. Are they sitting in the chair? Have they been moving? How often have they moved? You might have to give them a call. How come you don't have the chair on? Turn the chair on. Dialysis is another area where this there's a lengthy seated time, period time, and individuals are at higher risk of pressure injuries. And then the last one is, of course, a wheelchair. We actually started with a wheelchair. We have a built wheelchair that automatically moves and shifts pressure. But in talking to folks, the difficulty with getting the wheelchair on the market is that you have to get an insurance code, and insurance has to be willing to pay for it. And they told us to get it to market, we were looking at a 10-year cycle. So we pivoted to the recliner, which has a much shorter cycle. We're planning on getting this into the market within the next year. So this was our initial focus. Many wheelchair users, over 58%, will get a pressure injury at some point because they're seated for long periods of time. And so we see that being as a key market as well. But we've got to take a quicker avenue to get some things rolling, and then we'll move back to looking at the regulations with that. The prototype that you saw is being sponsored through a MTRAC grant partnered by Michigan Economic Corporation and Spartan University Innovation Center. Much of the foundational work to make this happen and the research was supported by an NSF. And currently Techna is working on the manufacturing, and we have some funding coming in from the Research Foundation to support Justin Scott. He is a former PhD student of mine and a postdoc. He's co-founder of SitSense, and if all works out, hopefully he'll be the CEO of the SitSense company as things advance. Briefly, I've done some work with wheelchairs, accessibility, as Claire mentioned, or Lori mentioned. I also have quite a bit of work in the space of arthritis, particularly around the thumb joint and pre and post surgery, affiliated with what can you do after surgery? You've lost the pain has gone away, but have you lost some of the strength and some of the motion that you thought you had before then? We tested that and found that things pretty much stayed the same. So you lost the pain, which is a good thing, but you didn't really gain any strength abilities even after significant physical therapy, nor any motion abilities. So with that, I think that is the last slide I have. This is my LinkedIn profile. If any of you are LinkedIn fans, or that's my MSU email, feel free to reach out and contact me. Oh, thanks, Larry. So, questions?
Yes, we'll open it up to 2 questions if we may.
Yeah.
Thanks for the good information. Does AI play any part in any of these functions or trying to do?
Yeah.
So repeat the
Yep.
question.
So the question was, does AI play any functions in this? So right now for hospitals, they want nothing connected, right? So it is a self-standing piece. One of the things that we plan to implement, and it's really around machine learning, which is kind of AI adjacent, is running through our set of postures with the chair the first time through, learning how the individual responds to those positions in terms of their pressure distribution. and then optimizing it for that given individual in future rounds of motion. So that would be not truly AI, but a personalization based on a learning algorithm. A good question. Yeah, we're thinking of that. Yeah.
I would be a consumer, and I wonder if you could give an approximate ballpark for the cost of something like this to the ordinary citizen consumer.
Yeah, I will tell you what we have it scoped out now, but I will also put the caveats that the price and the components with tariffs, without tariffs, coming from overseas, not overseas, right? We have been chasing this down. Our plan is to keep it under $10,000 because some nurses in some hospitals, chief nursing officers have a discretionary fund that they can purchase it for under $10,000. Our goal is $8,000. So that keeps it in line with other motorized chairs, but they don't have nearly the function. So it will be expensive. The sit to stand lazy boy chair can run around $2,000 to $3,000, just to put it in a ballpark.
But this does something. This boy doesn't.
Good point. Our chair definitely does something.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you
yes.
so much. All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Dr. Bush, give her a nice round of applause for her intriguing presentation and innovative designs. I'd like Dr. Luz to join me if you would, please. I'd like to give you where'd you go?
Right here.
So thank you for presenting. That's a
Thank
little
you.
presentation gift, but later on, as you know, at 1 o'clock, we have our awards ceremony. Dr. Bush has to get back to teach a class, so she's not able to be here. So with her absence at 1, we want to acknowledge her right now. She's the recipient of the Research in Aging Award, and this award recognizes 2 MSU researchers who engage in outstanding aging-related research that addresses issues of aging and provides significant value through innovation, improvement, and new initiatives. Dr. Bush has provided clear leadership in aging-related STEM research that adds significant value to lifelong well-being regardless of age or ability. She has built a solid body of rigorous, translational, truly innovative scholarship that is already having an immediate and concrete impact on the lives of older adults and individuals with disabilities. The majority of her research relates to functional mobility, including the biomedical mechanics of seating, hand function, musculoskeletal dysfunction, and pressure ulcers. Dr. Bush is the director of the MSU Biomechanical Design Research Laboratory, where students apply engineering techniques and principles to the human body. They also learn how their research lab works and relates to the real world of clinical practice, human limitations, and the cause of medical problems. This is done through collaborating with the faculty in MSU Colleges of Human and Osteopathic Medicine, the College of Nursing, Department of Radiology, School of Packaging, as well as clinicians at Spectrum Health, Grand Valley University, and Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital. This is the translational research and a bridge between research and real-life application at its best. Dr. Bush is a Spartan through and through. Go green!
Go right.
She received her bachelor's and master's degrees in biomechanics from MSU and her PhD in mechanical engineering also from MSU. And she's received multiple awards for her work, including being named a Red Cedar Distinguished Professor. In addition, she serves as the Engineering College's Associate Dean for Inclusive Excellence. She has a reputation as a superior instructor, respected colleague, and a friend of AgeAlive. On behalf of AgeAlive and MSU, we're so pleased to present you. I get to give it to you.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
We are presenting you with your Research in Aging Award. It's so well deserved, and being Women's History Month, she is also
you.
making history, isn't she? Thank you so much, Dr. Blythe.
Lori, you did your homework to dig all of that up. Well, and some of that isn't even public knowledge yet, so the Red Cedar Award's new. So
Oh,
that is,
yeah,
You didn't know you had.
I knew, but not everyone else does.
Sure.
Thank you. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
I was invited to help award this one because Dr. Bush and I are longtime colleagues and friends, and I'm so proud of you. And it's well-deserved, and I have great admiration for your work as I do for everybody on our panel today, but congratulations, Tammy.
Thank you, and we call her Tammy. She once gave a presentation at our Take Your Child to Work Day event on campus, and I was so pleased to have a woman in engineering present to these young girls so that they knew they could do it too. Go girls. That was a long time ago. Remember that? Okay. Now we'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Rizzi. Nature Walks and Healthy Aging, What Happens When We Step Outside, presented by Dr. Fatima Rizzi, Assistant Professor in Landscape Architecture. Dr. Rizzi is an Assistant Professor of Landscape Architecture in the School of Planning, Design, and Construction at MSU. Her research operates at the intersection of landscape architecture, cognitive psychology, urban design, and public health. Through both empirical investigation and theoretical inquiry, she examines how built and natural environments influence human health, well-being, and cognitive functioning. Her work seeks to generate evidence-based design strategies that support healthier, more resilient communities. So please welcome Dr. Fatima Rizzi, and note that in 2024, she was a recipient of the Outstanding Research Award. So another award winner, come on up. Go.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm so happy to be here today and present my research. And it's a totally different research. My area of research, as Lori talked about, is about environment and how the cities that we design impacts human health and well-being. And I have to say, this research that I'm presenting today is a collaboration between my team at MSU, a School of Planning, Design, and Construction, and my colleagues at National Taiwan University. And I received the award last year to 24 because of this research. So I said, we published a paper out of this research last year in Journal of Health and Cities. Okay, let me start my presentation with a very simple question. When was the last time that you walked outside for a walk?
Before the world froze over.
Today is a beautiful day. I bet if you could walk today, but what I'm gonna talk about is to see how a simple walk could be different for every person. Okay, we had this big picture that walking outside is helpful. CDC tells us like we have to walk outside something about 150 minutes per week. That helps our well-being. But how is it the same for everyone, or is it the same for us in different places? Do we get the same responses from the environment? There are so many research that support walking in nature is helpful. It helps us to get more benefits. But let's see why I did this study. What's the difference between the study that we did? So this study is about older adults. We asked older adults to walk outside, and we measured physiological and mental health responses to see what happens when people walk outside. You want to see what is the impact of nearby nature that is in the urban environment, not like going to the woods or state parks. And also, you want to see what is the cultural differences when we walk outside. That's why the study is in two parts. Part of it is in the US, which we did it at MSU. And the second part happened in Taipei in Taiwan. So we had very simple objectives. You want to understand what is the impact of nearby nature in older adults' well-being. And we wanted to see what is the impact of context when we walk outside. We designed a very simple experiment, only 30 minutes walk. So we had these ads everywhere. We went to coffee shops all around the East Lansing and Lansing area. The only requirements was for participants was to be over 80 years old, 60 years old, and to be able to walk. So this is human ecology, our building on campus. We picked 2 sites. We had one site on our MSU campus. We believe MSU campus is so beautiful and it has enough amounts of nature that we were looking for. And we also picked East Lansing downtown. We had 85 older adults for this study, and the average age for all of them was 71. We had 52 of them were in Taiwan and 33 participants in the US. We had 56 women, 29 men. So these are some of the images of the sites that we picked. As I told you, the top part is MSU campus. The bottom part is East Lansing downtown. So the difference is mostly in the amount of vegetation that those sites have, and also what people experience being in urban environments and in more environment that has more vegetations. So as I said, we had a 30 minutes experiment. It's a very simple experiment. We ask our participants to walk in one of those environments for only 30 minutes. And we ask them to wear Apple Watch to track their body responses when they are walking. Meanwhile that they've been walking, they would have to answer 2-3 very quick and simple questionnaires. And they could also take photos of the environments or scenery that they like. After we were done with this experiment, we did a short interview with them to want to see what is their experience of this short walk. So as I said, we use Apple Watch. We connected to some apps to track their heart rate variability, heart rate in general, and oxygen blood levels. This is my research team at MSU campus. Again, before starting the experiment, participant has to answer to some background questionnaires and do some pre-walk tests. And they walk for 30 minutes and answer to all the questionnaires. And again, they answer to another questionnaire after the walk. These are some of the images from Taiwan and US. In Taiwan, they did that in 3 different environments. They walked in the streets, they walked in urban parks, and they also walked in some urban farms. In the US, we divided in only 2 sites. In urban environment, just streets, and also these are some of the questionnaires, the 3 questionnaires that they had to respond during the walk. So we want to see how it impacts their mood, the whole like walking experience that they have. So what did we find after the experiment? What is the differences between nature walk compared to when you walk in the downtown area? So as I said, again, we were like optimistic that walking in nature makes them feeling much better. They get better mood. We found that, especially for women, the heart rate variability increased when they walked in urban streets. So one of the reasons could be because when you are walking in downtown area or in the streets, you need more awareness of cars, all the noises, everything going on in the urban environment. And also we found, of course, nature feels restorative for people. So what was surprising that we found more benefits for women when they are walking in the environment that like in MSU campus, when there is more nature. We found that there is a higher blood pressure for women when they are walking in downtown area, which tells us, it seems like at least in our study, women get more benefit from walking in nearby nature. And we thought maybe one of the underlying reasons is that women may feel less safe on busy urban streets. That is like impacts their stress level. So another part of this study was we went back and we did interview with people who walked in the nature part of the study. And we found there is a strong relationship between the way that people get benefits from nature walk. There's a strong relationship to their memories. I brought some of the quotes. There was a huge difference between how our culture and background impacts the way that we experience the environment. We found that in the US, when we talk to people, how was the walk? How did you feel it? The nature walk would connect them to their past experiences. They would say, oh, I remember when I was a child, I was walking there, or I walked with my friends. So it was a connection to their past memories. While when we, like in Taiwan, our results from Taiwan showed that it connects them more to the environment itself, what is happening in the environment, and to the future. Like, oh, I planned this, like I want to go walk to that area, or oh, I see like birds are singing. I brought some of the quotes here. This is a quote from US from here and from Urban Park. I've been retired 8 years ago, so I felt energized and I had lots of memories, and it reminded me of what I was feeling walking in this environment. I brought another quote from someone from the US walking in the downtown area. It says, it's not the kind of walk I would do because of the noise. And then we compared it with our responses from people from Taiwan. Said, I feel very comfortable. It's very old-fashioned atmosphere, air, the whole environment. So we noticed that they pay more attention what is going on in the environment, like birds are singing, or like there is a water that you can hear, the water fountain that you can hear it. Again, more quotes from urban environments in Taiwan. It's better for Taiwan to have this many like urban environments, they were telling us, and they were wishing for like more environments like this. So what we found is that cultural differences matter. Body responses were very similar between our participants in the US and Taiwan. What we found more interesting was the background and cultural differences of how people experience the environment. And these are some of the things that we, based on analysis, people found when they were walking, like plants, ecology, activities, vehicles. So some of the key takeaways from this study for us is for city planners, because I'm in landscape architecture, we collaborate with people in urban planning. So to be more mindful when they are designing the environment, bring women more. Again, this is March, this is Women's Month, and our research also showed more results for women. So bring women more in your designs. But I think the actual takeaway that I would say you can get from this research is that small steps are important. Walking is important. Where do you walk matters. Being thoughtful about the environment that you are walking makes a difference, as we saw in our research. And as a nature nearby is important, but also the way that we experience the environment is different based on our backgrounds and also cultural differences. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, we have one online. If you listen to a podcast while walking, does it change the difference between environments or mitigate the stress of urban walking?
So both. Again, it depends where you are walking. So if there are so many environmental factors like in the urban environment that impacts your experience, while nature has so many qualities that naturally makes you more calm and relaxed when you're walking.
Questions?
Well, we got one there. That's okay.
Is it better to walk in the morning or the evening or at night?
We haven't done a research to compare that to see what is the difference between walking in like what time of the day. But in my dissertation, my research was my participants were nurses and doctors working at hospital that they were mentally fatigued. So each walk has positive impact, no matter when it is happening. I think with our busy life, no matter when you do the walk, still you get the positive impacts. But there is no research to tell you exactly where, when it's better.
Great, well, thank you, Dr. Rizzi. Here's a. Thank you, Dr. Rizzi. That makes me happy. I like to walk in nature too. Okay, coming up next, we have reimagining ability using residual movement for human and machine interface design, presented by Dr. Rajiv Ranganthanan. And he's an associate professor in the Department of Kinesiology at MSU. Dr. Ranganathan is an associate professor in Department of Kinesiology with a joint appointment in mechanical engineering. His research focuses on motor learning and rehabilitation, exploring how humans develop skilled and coordinated movement and how these abilities change with development, aging, and movement disorders. His work aims to advance neurorehabilitation techniques and improve the design of human-machine interfaces. His research has been published in leading kinesiology, biomedical engineering, and neuroscience journals, and his work has been supported by the National Science Foundation and National Institutes of Health. Dr. Ranganathan, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. And again, thank you for the opportunity to present some of the work that I've been doing. So whether it's age or disability, at some point, we all have to think about, whether it's for us or for a loved one, think about assistive devices, right? So these are critical for activities of daily living. So you can think of it in terms of either mobility, so in terms of, say, a wheelchair, manipulation, which would be for, say, individuals who had more movement impairments of the arm. They may have to reach for objects or a cup of coffee. And of course, in terms of communication as well. So we all interact with computers and phones on a very regular basis. And so the idea here is that we might need assistive devices to be able to interact with these kinds of devices as well. Now, one of the sort of big downsides, and this has been true over the last 3 decades, is that the rate at which assistive devices, even though people have come up with like really fancy things, they still have a very high rate of abandonment. So the estimates range anywhere from 25% all the way up to 70%, depending on the type of technology, the type of population, et cetera. But this is an extremely high number. So most people, even though there are assistive devices out there, do not tend to use them for very long. So this is to me, this is a human interface problem, right? We've got a device, but people don't use it, which means there is some mismatch between how people want to use it versus how the device functions. And of course, that doesn't explain all of the factors, but at least it's, I think, one significant factor that we have to look at. So if you look at assistive devices, they require motor function to some extent. So again, for a powered wheelchair, this might be something like a joystick where you're using your hand and finger motions to control this device. But as sort of you get more impairments in motion, this starts to get a little bit more difficult in terms of trying to find movements to control such devices. So here's an example of, on the right, top right here, what's called a head array. So this is essentially a array that surrounds the head, where now the user can use little head movements to tap on the different pads to be able to, say, control a wheelchair. You also have things like the mouth stick, which, again, for communication devices, this might be one way of interacting. So the key thing here is, yes, these devices are available, but one thing that potentially impedes their use is that they interfere with communication. So if, again, you can't have a normal conversation if you've got a mouse stick in your hand, or if you're using your head to control a device, then it becomes difficult to have a sort of natural conversation with somebody. So what we are proposing is to kind of think about, again, in the spirit of this conference, to think about ability as something that we see what the person has rather than what they don't, right? So can we use what the abilities that people have in order to be able to control such devices? So the fact is that even in a lot of movement impairments, and whether it's stroke or spinal cord injury, there is a lot of movements that are still spared, right? That people can still control a lot of movements even after neurological injury. The trouble with that is that these movements that are spared tend to be very heterogeneous, which means depending on the type of injury, depending on where the injury is, et cetera, the exact kind of motions that people may be able to make is very different. So we can't have a one-size-fits-all type of device. We need to find something that is personalized to the user. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about today, is one approach we think that tackles this problem of how can we build an interface that fits the user rather than the other way around. So the main idea of this, what we call the body-machine interface, consists of three parts. So we have the human on the end, where we're going to record some aspect of movement. And the idea here is we're going to try and do it as non-invasively as possible. So little sensors that you can attach to the user. It doesn't have to be fixed to anything. Just like, again, a lot of wearables, like our watch, we wear a lot of wearables. So the idea here is we can record signals like these from the user that can extract movement. Then we've got an interface, which really sort of takes the signals that we are recording from the user and tries to map it to the assistive device that is being controlled. And so the idea here is then you've got the device on the other end, which responds to the movement of the human. Now, the key thing here is this interface is flexible in that, again, for different users, the mapping may be different. So one person may control the device using a different set of movements than the other. The other aspect that's nice about this approach is the devices are interchangeable. So that means, okay, I can use this one interface to control, say, a wheelchair, but then I could also use a similar kind of interface to now control a completely different assistive device. So it gives that flexibility within the individual as well. So in terms of where these kind of interfaces land among what is currently available, so you've got what are called brain-machine interfaces. I don't know how many of you have heard of this, but this has been in popular media for a while. This is where you get the machines controlled by thought sort of headlines. And the idea here is you're really recording directly from the brain in some way and using that to control an assistive device. Now, this is very useful for individuals who have very little movement capable. So you're really going straight into the brain to figure out what they might be intending to do. And the disadvantage, of course, is this can be invasive depending on the type of recording that's being done. It could require surgery, for example. And it's adaptable to the individual. That's one important part. But it requires also lots of training because there's no intuitive way to control these. And then on the other end, we've got the conventional control we've already talked about, like a joystick, right? So it's something that you sort of are expecting the user to have the motion to be able to control it. It's non-invasive, but it's fixed, right? You have to learn how that interface operates. The interface does no adjustment to the user. And so what we are thinking about is this sort of in-between space. So the body-machine interface is for individuals where some degree of movement is available that we can exploit to control these devices, but it can be customized to the user. So I'll show you a couple of examples of things that we've done. This first one here is for a child who was born without limbs. And what we were trying to do is to be able to have him control a robotic arm so that he could grab a cup of water. And the main idea here is we have an inertial measurement unit, which is basically a sensor that's placed on top of his cap. And we are recording those signals to control how the robotic arm moves. And so, of course, this requires a little bit of training. What you'll see is real time. It's 1x speed, but it did take a while for him to be able to learn this. So if I can play this. So again, that's where the IMU sensor is placed. And he's going to make sort of little motions of his head as he's trying to get the robotic arm to position to grab the cup of water.
It's pretty amazing.
And again, we were able to use this control for him to be able to do other tasks as well. So it's, like I said, a general purpose interface. And here's another one that we're currently working on, which is more in an occupational context. So again, we are working with Peckham, which is one of the apparel companies here in Lansing. And the idea here is to build a similar sort of interface for somebody who might not have, say, be able to use a traditional foot pedal control for a sewing machine. And so the approach is pretty much the same. We have now the inertial measurement unit, which is, again, just like a wearable that's placed on the body. So instead of controlling with the foot, what this enables the user to do is control the sewing machine by sort of leaning backwards and forwards. So that's what now controls the sewing machine. So here's, again, an example. You see that this IMU is placed right on the chest there. And as he leans forward and back, you will see that the sewing machine starts to go. And I'm kind of showing some graphs as well as to what is going on. So again, the key thing here is not using the foot pedal, basically trying to control the sewing machine functions just by leaning backward and forward. So to kind of sum up what the approach we're taking is that these residual movements or spared movements that people have after injury or disability are an important source of information that allows the user to communicate intent. So if we can sort of listen to those movements more carefully, we might be able to use that to build assistive devices that are personalized to the individual. So that's a big key. The other part about these interfaces that's sort of also a side note, but also an important part I want to say is that I've focused on it purely from the side of assistive devices, but these can also be used for rehabilitation, right? A lot of times rehabilitation, your goal is to repeat a set of movements, but sometimes, it just feels like the movements themselves don't have any function. So what you can do now is you can take the functions you want people to do and map it on to, say, the control of a device. That becomes now a lot more functional for them. So rather than do an exercise 10 times just for the sake of doing it 10 times, you're, say, doing a task, whatever, putting your books in a bookshelf 10 times, which is a lot more functional, and then it allows the user to be a lot more motivated as well. In terms of challenges that we're addressing, again, there are two main things that in these interfaces are important to address. One is what we call the control challenge, which is as the device gets more and more complex, that means you have to extract like more residual movements for you to be able to control different aspects of the device. So again, for wheelchair, for example, you're looking at two what we call degrees of freedom, right? Two things that you have to send to the wheelchair, which is how fast it's going and if it's turning or not. If you take a look at that robotic arm that you just saw, well, that requires a lot more because you have to control both position and the orientation of the hand as it's moving. So as the device gets more complex, one thing that we're trying to do is see how can we extract more movement information from the user. The second part, of course, is the learning challenge, right? Which is, again, sometimes the interface is easy to learn. So, people are motivated and then you can learn it quickly, but we think we can always do better in terms of making it easier on the user. Again, in the spirit of, if we make things easy to learn, then there's less likelihood of abandonment of the device. One challenge we're looking at is how do we make learning of these interfaces easier? So some current work that we're doing are looking at, again, machine learning or AI approaches to solve these challenges, right? So how can we take movement information and map them onto the device? We've also been looking at some sort of inspiration from sports where you have a coach. And so here, the idea here that you see on the bottom right here is to have a coach help you learn such movements, like what movements to do to control the device, and we call this dyadic training, and that's something that we're exploring as a way of, again, trying to help people learn the device faster. And last but not least, a big goal for us is clinical feasibility, right? It's technical sophistication is one thing, but eventually if nobody uses it, that is not going to be very helpful. So we're trying to find ways that these can be simple enough where they will eventually be used. So thank you again, and maybe I'll just, again, thanks my co-authors and collaborators on the project, and I'll take any questions.
Questions?
Well, I'm stretching.
Okay.
No.
Hey. Dr. Ron. That was a very interesting presentation. And next, we'd like to introduce the students that have worked with him. So we're so happy that we can move on with the MSU Student Capstone Group, the 2025 Mechanical Engineering graduates, Brody Stack, Brandon Davies, and Finn Jarvis. Come on up. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. If that's what's comfortable for you. The design team will share how their capstone project has focused to help a fellow Spartan increase his range of motion and arm strength through extension. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. How about that? There we
There
go.
you
Thank
go.
you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'm Brody. This is Brandon.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
We had the pleasure of working with Professor last semester to design a device which, following the research that you just presented, is a wonderful example of taking remaining mobility, or what is left after an accident or whatever it may be, and taking those inputs and making a device that is personalized yet adaptable based on, again, what is available.
Okay, so our project, we were connected with a fellow Spartan student who underwent an injury that affected his brain and specifically the left side of his body. So he has trouble reaching across his body and lifting his arm up to like shoulder height. He needs help to do that. So the goal was to design something that he can wear that is easy to transport, easy to take on and off, to assist him with everyday tasks like opening doors, reaching something for the cupboard, grabbing a glass of water, just normal everyday tasks so that he can do it with his left arm. And we also paired up with AgeAlive, which was our capstone sponsor for last semester. They work with different people in the agricultural field and help fit them with devices for repetitive injuries. So we wanted to make our device also be able to use in the agricultural field for like picking fruit or like trimming trees, etc., operating different equipment.
Yeah, repetitive tasks that can reduce or mitigate strain on the body to prevent injuries. So again, we worked with an individual, so this is a personalized project, and the specific case that we were designing to is a hemiplegia, so a semi-paralysis of the left side of the body due to trauma in the brain on the opposite side of the body. So the user's requests with limited mobility in their left arm specifically were to be able to open doors, interface with things you mentioned with like a computer interface or things around the house where maybe you need to articulate out further away from the body, and that could be difficult if you're inhibited in that range of motion. The specific activity that our individual wanted to regain independence with was skeet shooting, and that was their hobby before an accident. So this obviously is designed for everyday use, but with the specific use case in mind of being able to help track during skeet shooting so this individual can regain their hobby. Functions that are required are to assist the shoulder in carrying the weight of the arm. Obviously, this needs to be self-supporting. It needs to be worth its weight. So not adding strain to the body, not inhibiting range of motion more than it assists. And another big one is being able to articulate or position the wrist for a wider range of functions. So I have it right now in a neutral position where you might be able to open a door or a cabinet, but there's also options, and I'll show you this later as we go, where you can take this pin out and rotate around to different supination and pronation positions. Obviously, we needed to have a safe range of motion, avoid strain. We talked about pressure injuries a little bit, and so a lot of this is padded in very specific ways to be mindful of things like that with repetitive use to make this a long-term device, to your point.
Okay, so we were lucky to have our sponsor AgeAlive provide us with an exoskeleton that already exists on the market. This is based off of the Exo Evo. So if you take a look at Brody here, from the waist up to his shoulder is all the Exo Evo, which is designed for, again, repetitive motion injuries and specifically stroke victims. So it has a switch on the shoulder, and if we flip this up right here, now Brody can put his arm up, and his arm is limp right now.
Yeah, so now the device is self-supporting. And again, the idea with this, the commercially available product, as you can see, only is designed to interface with a cuff around the upper arm to help, if you're supporting weight over your head often, but then now we've adapted it to provide structure out through the arm so that it can, again, where there's a limitation in the range of motion, now that has been extended another full segment of the arm away from the body.
And then also, like, if I were to push down on Brody's arm here, it kind of pushes back up. So this is all using mechanical springs. There are 5 different spring levels, so it can be adjustable depending on the user's need for assistance. And also, as they gain strength in their shoulder, you can use less powerful springs for the future.
We'll talk more about that soon, but a lot of everything in this is adaptable or adjustable to the point of being able to follow the user's needs through time. And as a rehab device, this has potential to, start off with a lot of involvement or a lot of articulation, actuation from the device itself. And then as the user needs that less and less through time, that can be mirrored through the device to match those needs. We will go pretty quick through these. They're just different prototypes. We threw this together in a couple months. So this is, the original, just throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. And then we can go. The second model is where we fit our individual, and you can see that it's been slotted to help adapt and get measurements that are accurate to them. Again, to the point of individualization. You can see that in our final model, we kept some slots, and a lot of things are variable so that we could, if this was ever going to be used with a different individual, easily fit them as well. And then what I'm wearing right now is the final model you can see, which has some very nice interfaces for human interface. So we can keep going. This is where I'll kind of breeze through, but talk about some of the highlights of this device, where how we've taken something that could very well just be like a splint, but made it a little bit easier to interface with as a human being. So things like heat molded plastic to help hold the hand and prevent specific points of pressure, but distribute that load across a wider surface to be more comfortable. This helps with supination and holding the hand out where there's a lot of muscle tone that can be restrictive to this type of patient. And then again, in every point, designing for adaptability and adjustability. So end stops, the ranges of motion, and the spring settings in all cases are things that can be adjusted with just a screwdriver, if not just your fingers, so that the user can adapt this as they need on the fly. And then this, more.
Yeah, here's a look of some of the medical foam that we used. And then this is coated with sheepskin padding around that to help with just abrasion, etc. Here's a look at our wrist pull pin right there for adjusting the wrist angle. This user specifically has use of his right arm, so we designed that for him to be able to use his right arm to adjust the wrist position.
So this is an example of it helping the user supinate the hand. And we can do the next slide, I think. With the results and applications, we met with this individual's PT. This is him using the device to support, again, a load out from the body, where the use case of skeet shooting. This is one of the first times he's been able to do that independently, and so this was a great success for us and the device as a team. But the PT here, you can see, is pretty excited about it as well, because there are applications in rehab where, because of restrictive muscle tone, the way that travels down through a limb, our individual is able to supinate more here where the arm's retracted than he is here. But because this is assisted via springs, you could set the wrist to one of these degrees of supination that's comfortable here. So I'll show you here, right? So it might be like one notch at a time, right? But if you can start here and then do exercises that help move that out and help work against that restrictive muscle tone, you can eventually, the idea is, and the PT's input was that could be very helpful towards helping to mitigate that tone and get some of that mobility back for this individual himself.
Yep. And as we mentioned earlier, our individual that we were working with used to be on the MSU skeet shooting team, and we took our device to a shooting range to test it out. We also designed a grip right here that he can use with his left hand to be able to hold the shotgun. It slots right in on the foam padding, and then it can be strapped with the Velcro on top. And he has just enough strength to be able to hold on to that grip as well. And we went with our whole team, which we had never been shooting before ever. So it was our first time. We all tested it, but without the device, all of us shot 0 out of 5 ski. So it was a little difficult. But then when we tried the device on Brody, he immediately shot 2 out of 5. And then using our grip and the device went 4 for 5 with the skeet shooting.
So the stability at extension is really what we're targeting here, and it showed for all of us as we tested this. And the handle is a unique thing as well, because that leverages the tone that already exists in the hand in a way that that uses it like we want to use that. So the interchangeability piece, again, this palm plate thing that is mostly applicable for the PT applications, just can slot out, and then you have the room for either a different attachment for whatever you may want to do at any range through this motion, or if you want to leverage that muscle tone that's already there. It was enough to hold something here and now be able to articulate it. One other thing that I want to mention is about what the professor talked about with ranges of motion and kind of tapping into what is there and how can we leverage that to accentuate that or widen that range of motion. This elbow is designed, there's a little bit of motion right here where it's stable and held up by the spring, but very soon it clicks over the center, as you can see, and then helps pop out to an adjustable end stop. And the idea there is that this portion of the motion is what our individual can provide in this joint, so that without having to have outside help, he can get at least to that point where the spring can start to assist. And it's still a slow process, but this has been shown to work where, with what is available in that range of motion, we can help get the rest of the way out.
And again, when we met with his PT, she was ecstatic to hear that we can even like interchange the springs as he gains more strength and mobility back, right? He might need a less powerful spring once he is using the device and is more comfortable with it and able to provide more of his own strength versus our device assisting him. And then also we designed this device to be able to easily pack up and fit in this nice little carrying bag. And that's about it. Questions?
I was just wondering if you could say a few words to give us some idea about the tree trimmer motion. And also, if you have time, any more fine motor type of tools that you might use in making crafts. Crafts like needlework.
Yeah.
Use the microphone.
Thank you. Yeah. So, well, to the point of applications in agriculture or using an implement of some sort, the same thing holds true with kind of our use case with the skeet shooting, where this provides rigidity out through the arm, so you're not using the stability muscles as much that can fatigue easily. And what's being targeted is a larger muscle group, and you're being supported out through here. And now this is all rigid. So if you are limited in the stability through the arm, that can provide you just kind of like 2 points that aren't going to have any variability in between. Now you can, with this arm and a shoulder, if this is stronger, which is in our case it is, this can push, especially like through something that you're holding. This can provide a lot of articulation out through the arm, and this just acts as a support. And then I think also to that point of like a craft or needlework, With the wrist cuff being adjustable, and I, you know, I can't really talk and do it at the same time, but thanks. We designed this so that you could, you know, rotate it down and then maybe be able to interface with something on a table or like hold something down as you do something here. And so this obviously is designed for an individual who does not have control of the hand. So the idea is not so much to use the hand in an articulating way, but use the hand as like a support or you know, just some sort of interface as opposed to none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How effective is a device for someone with severe spasticity?
With severe what?
Severe spasticity. Spasms, severe
Oh.
spasticity.
I don't know that we have tested anything with that use case at the moment. But you wanna?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the device in its current form does not account for spasticity. But I think in this case, the user did not have issues of spasticity. But I think it's a great point. It sort of shows that these devices, when they're made more flexible, have to account for a lot more than what we've currently designed it for.
That severe spasticity, I think my muscle spasm tongue will break that device. Yeah.
Telling us about the functions that work so well, you haven't covered the importance of being able to put it on. He's not always going to have somebody around the house. How do you get it so that you can make it function to be able to put it on?
That's a wonderful point. Yes. The way that this is, again, this use case is for an individual whose right arm is strong and can get over to interface with a lot of the things we have here. So to that point, we've made this as you know, for the time frame that we've been given in the budget and all, we've made this as easy to interface with as possible. So there's things which is here, like the belt is just a one-handed thing where you can click it off, and if you're sitting down in a chair, this can drape over the end of the chair and be supported, where then you could like lift yourself out of it. And with the wrist, which is the most constraining feature, there's a spring-loaded latch here, just kind of like a door, and so you can click it, open it, and now this is free to load, and to load in more of a neutral position. We tried this originally loading it right here, but you could load this more of a natural position for the hand as well. And then all of these straps open as such, and there's handles here to help you move it around as you do this process of getting it on or off. And then again, like this also can turn off, and now the device is limp. It's not providing any push, but with my, you know, just this arm, I can take all of this off, and now it's loose.
Yeah, and then with our individual specifically, like Brody said, with the chair, we'd have him put it around his waist and then kind of put his arm into all of the straps as he's kind of sitting down into it, and then he can use his right arm to strap it up and tighten it, which sometimes can require a little bit of assistance. But again, as our capstone project, we only had about 3 months to make this. So
Wouldn't it be great if you could be hired by a company to have more money and time to develop
Yes.
it further? Well, thank you so much to Brody and Brandon. That was excellent.
Thank you.
And we'd like to give a quick thanks to our team members who couldn't make it today, Finn Jarvis, Damon McConnell, and Miles Hayes, who also helped us to build this project.
Well, thank you. We have this for you guys. Thank you again, and you can give those to the other ones as well.
Thank you so much.
Aren't the students impressive? Okay, it is time for a break. We have 15 minutes. What time is it now? What's 15 minutes? It's 10:45. So at 11 o'clock, we'll all be back to hear our keynote speaker, Shantae. So take 15 minutes to yourselves and visit the resource tables, please. The bathrooms, the restrooms are both to the left on this side, your right, and your left around the corner this way. So there's two sets. And please visit the resource tables. Those folks have wonderful information. Thank you.
She just had the lapel down too far, but I'd like to test that. Yeah.
Did I say it right? Sunday? Just get her in here.
Check it out here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You want to test out the health, you're comfortable in the value. And this is Luke, he's our AV tech. And I'm.
This is Sarah. She's one of our speakers for.
And I have a problem too, that I the internet to show up in here, was that gonna be okay or not?
They're the reason that it's like just watching about it.
Work here. I wonder. Oh, I was supposed to be off and then I just. Huh.
Yeah.
Yep. As we get older, we're more about. Spouses are gonna go, there's gotta be a way that you could.
Years might want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's separate or not. Yes. Well, thank you.
Here is that lady over there. That's a different space.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, chair. She did, I know the chair would be great. This is the- I'm working with our director. That's she's working on this mobility in this chair, which is really very interesting. Yes. Yeah, it's very good.
Testing, testing.
So much to see today. Yeah, because I got my 15 again on Saturday. It was fun. It was I had a lot of babies there. Some of my sporty sisters. I'm gonna go say today next year. They don't know in our Lansing. Oh, you did?
Check 1, 2.
Oh. I didn't see that. I do understand because she was asking me about writing my daughter. My daughter in Alabama, but she's really good. She's not gonna go. Sorry. It's good. But I tell you. And that kind of confirmed what you just said. No worries. Yeah.
Clean every year. That fire. Yes. It's always us. Oh, I'm curious. You're in there for a month. Yeah. Half of the.
Chris.
That's better.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yes. Yes. It's nice. That's nice. Right. Yeah. Wedding section. Still okay. Sometimes talk about how much examples and how like got their idea. Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah. I know, so you really got to see stories, so that's really for us. So it is gonna be. And then I think French. Doing good? Then you're gonna let her know. Don't worry about it. I have. Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, I know. All right. No, but that's a new one. Yeah. No. Yeah, I think that's all you have. Yes. No, I have that. That's of course. If I was saying, that's too bad. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm actually asked a couple of cookies. They are Years ago. When you How are you? But my name is Anne. Was informative and helpful and education. Sometimes instantaneously, like the history. But what I can tell you is that I know. You know. Thank you. What mechanics were. I would. Notice. Sarah. So, probably back to
We found out that. One more team needs to.
What else did we know? Oh, we knew. Things will be okay. So I will. Now, I don't know, but since you lied, you want to text it again, so I will make it one. I'm gonna just go with. Our number. We're on the internet, so kind of like I could. But it's not the same.
I have those waters up there for you guys. Waters are up there for you. Have a preference for?
Standing.
How I can lower my insurance rates. That's what I keep telling everybody. It's gonna tell us how if we.
Well, ARP doesn't
have
sell
AAA.
insurance. But not car, not. We just bet it.
You just gotta talk fast.
Okay, I'm giving you the 1 minute warning for our keynote to begin. We hope everyone in Ishpeming and on the Zoom are also enjoying this forum today. The presentations have been excellent. We look forward to our keynote speaker.
It's like 40. I'm a. I'm not. Matter how we say it. I think whatever I think. Right?
The shoes that I. Then I want to put somebody like that.
You have my familiar name.
And,
Greece.
Yeah, I know. What did you do before you came in here?
I'm about to.
I'm trying to get some teachers up there. So they have classes. 8 hours.
so far as the technology is going okay?
I think this will be a little challenge.
They do or not? I think. Michigan being where it is, we got people.
You have a lapel mic on or?
Yes.
Yeah, right. It's
She's gonna be beside the podium.
like, energy.
Get someone.
For time's sake, you think I should just go ahead?
That's part of my job. As far as I'm a volunteer. I'm just volunteer for every part of it. And became the. And.
Right.
What is kind of fun with
Science, just a little simple.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't like to be able to go. I'll pick up something simple.
Oh,
But,
The good thing about it is people just too,
I don't know. I've been on the restroom.
but the opposite.
Yes. Yes.
Glasses can range from. My voice, I'm just getting over it.
There she comes.
The allergy. Is this the chocolate?
She's being interviewed. Lori's doing.
Maybe I can.
Hey. Hope everyone had a chance to get a break and we're going to continue on. We have our keynote speaker waiting. And we're so excited that we can talk about aging in motion, making movement the expectation, not the exception. Shantae Favors is a nationally recognized disability advocate and former director of care whose career and life were reshaped by a spinal cord injury in 2018. She is Ms. Wheelchair Michigan 2024, first runner-up for Ms. Wheelchair America in 2025, where she is also the recipient of the Most Impactful Speech and People's Choice Award. Shantae is the founder of FAVE, that's F-A-V-E, Fortitude Advocates Valiant Everywhere. And she serves on the board of the United Spinal Association of Michigan as advocacy coordinator. A wife and a mother, she leverages lived experience and professional background to advance mobility, equity, and inclusion across aging and care systems. Please welcome Shantae Favors.
I'm gonna rise up.
Rise and shine.
Literally.
All right. Yeah.
So thank you so much for that warm introduction. It's an honor and privilege to be in this room, in this space, as we celebrate and honor some incredible individuals, having an important conversation, advancing mobility across the settings as we age. And I want to start with the simple truth that connects every single person, not only in this room, but around the world. That truth is, if we're lucky enough to live long enough, each and every one of us will experience changing in mobility. For aging and disabilities go hand in hand. Aging is natural. Disability is natural. Aging is not a failure of the body. It's not a problem to be solved, but it is a natural part of the human experience. One that deserves dignity, access at every stage of life. But yet too often when we talk about disability, we whisper, When we talk about aging, we look away. And when we talk about mobility, we treat it as privilege, but mobility is not privilege. It is a cornerstone of quality of life. But yet, it's treated as optional. And as a result, every day, millions of people are blocked. Millions are left behind. Millions are excluded, not by nature, not by fate, but by design. But exclusion is a choice, and barriers are choices. I know for me, it's been 7 years, 8 months, and 22 days ago since my life changed in a way I did not plan for. Suddenly, the world I moved through without thinking became a world full of obstacles, some physical, some invisible, but all very exhausting. You see, today I use a wheelchair for mobility. And I want to be clear about something that often gets misunderstood. My wheelchair is not a symbol of loss, but it is a tool of freedom. It gives me access to my community. It allows me to participate, to show up, to be in this very room. So the limitation is not the wheelchair, but it's the world that wasn't designed like people and me in mind. Now that is where this conversation truly began. Because mobility is not just about walking. It's about getting out of bed with confidence, moving through your home safely, navigating schools, workplaces, stores, sidewalks. It's about staying connected to the people and places that gives life meaning. So when mobility is supported, people thrive. But when mobility is ignored, people shrink. Not because they want to, but because the world make belonging too hard. But here's the truth we don't say loudly enough. Accessibility is not just for other people, it's for the child learning to move independently, the teenager recovering from an injury, the parent juggling work, school, and exhaustion, the adult adapting to bodies and illnesses, the older adult adapting to body changes as all bodies do. So disability is not rare, it is not fringe, but it is a part of our timeline. And yet, our system still treat accessibility as an afterthought, something added on instead of built in. So let's talk about public spaces, because the Americans with Disability Act, ADA, was passed into law 35 years ago, over 35 years ago. I repeat, the Americans with Disability Act, ADA, was passed into law over 35 years ago. And it sets a clear standard that accessibility in public spaces, entrances, curb cuts, ramps, elevators, restrooms, adequate turn space. Now, on paper, these spaces are accessible. But in reality, ramps are too steep, some doors are too heavy, elevators are broken or hidden, sidewalks are cracked or abruptly in, accessible rocks are blocked, locked, or treated as optional. So yes, the ADA does exist, but accessibility in practice is anything but accessible. Access delayed is access denied. Compliance without lived experience is not inclusion. Now, let's talk about housing, because mobility doesn't start in public, it starts at home. Under the Fair Housing Amendment Act, housing is supposed to be designed so people with disabilities can live independently, safely, and with dignity. And yet, my personal experience, 5 years ago, I set out to have my home built. I learned the hard truth. Even though this home had yet to be constructed, I had to pay extra, not for luxury, not for customization, but for basic accessibility. Wider doorways, barrier-free entrance, reinforced walls for grab bars. A layout that simply allowed me to move freely in my home. These weren't upgrades. They were necessities. And yet, they treated them as the exceptions. I want you to sit with that just for a moment. I didn't ask for anything extravagant. I didn't ask for anything custom. I simply asked for a home that I can live in and navigate safely, independently, and with dignity. And the system said, Shantae, that will cost you more. That is not equity. That is not inclusion. That is a failure of imagination and of policy. Because if these features were standard, not special, if we designed with homes of the assumptions that all body changes, if we planned for aging instead of reacting to crisis, everyone would benefit. Universal design helps everyone. So accessibility is not special treatment. It is smart design. And more than that, it is a statement of value. We often hear, but aging is inevitable. And yes, it is. But exclusion does not have to be. We can choose environments that evolve with us. We can choose policies that anticipate change instead of reacting to crisis. We can choose a design that says, my friend, you belong here now and later. And that certainly means advancing mobilities across the settings as we age, in homes, in communities, in healthcare systems, in public spaces. Because access in one place but not another is not access at all. It's fragmentation. Because true mobility follows people wherever life takes them. Now, yes, we have come a long way since the ADA went into place, but we still have a long way to go. Too many of us are still being blocked. Too many of us are still being left out. We can't enter to buildings, transportation systems that we cannot use. We cannot get into places simply to just enter. Services are designed for one kind of body, one way of moving. And the cost of that, it isn't just physical. It's mental. It's emotional. It's the quiet grief of being left out. But here's what gives me hope. Every time we design with inclusion in mind, we don't just help disabled and aging people, but we help everyone. We make life better for the world. So today I'm not asking you to see disability as a tragedy, but I'm asking you to see it as a reality and aging as a shared journey we are all on. I'm asking you to imagine a world where mobility is supported all together. I'm asking you to support it way before it's threatened. A world we stop asking, can they adapt? And we start asking, how can we as a society do better to make sure we adapt? Dignity should not depend on physical ability. Participation should not expire with age. And access should not be something you have to fight for once your body changes. But it should already be there waiting for you. So imagine a world where we don't hesitate to leave our home because the streets are inaccessible, where no one fears exclusion because of age, disability, or illness, where movement, participation, and dignity are guaranteed for all. Well, I'm here to tell you that that world is within our reach. Not someday, not someday soon, but today. Every design, every plan, every space, every policy. But we must ask this question first. Who's being left out? Does this enable everyone to move freely? If yes, celebrate it. If no, Change it. No excuse, because mobility is not a privilege. Mobility is not a bonus. Mobility is a right. I said mobility is a right. And we must ensure that every person, everywhere, at every stage of life, that movement is never the exception, but the expectation. But my friend, awareness alone is not enough. Intent is not enough. Compliance is not enough. But what we need now more than ever is action. Action that says accessibility is not a favor, is not an upgrade, not a line item to be negotiated, but it's a starting point. So my call to action today is design as if you would need it, because you will. Plan as if aging is the norm, because it is. Build as if access is a right, because it is. Every person in this room, every person around the world, ask this question every time you enter into a space. Who's being left out? And if the answer is anyone, then the work is not done. Because a measure of a just society is not how it supports its strongest bodies, but how it supports people access the entire lifespan. Because the future is aging. The future is disabled. And guess what? The future is all of us. I know 7 years, 8 months, and 22 days ago, I didn't choose disability, but I did choose to keep moving forward. I did keep choosing to push through. And I chose to believe that we live in a world where we can build a future where mobility across the lifespan is not an exception, but the expectation. But we must let every step, every role, every voice, every notion be a declaration that mobility is a right. No barrier, no exception, no one left behind. Because when we open doors, we don't just change buildings, but we set humanity in motion. Now, the future of aging, it isn't about adding years to life, but it's about adding life to years. I said the future of aging isn't about adding years to life, but it's about adding life to years. And mobility is how we get there. So if and when we choose wisely, mobility will never be an exception for a few, but it will be the expectation for all. It is very difficult knowing that we live in a world right now, each and every person will join my side someday. You may not be in a wheelchair, may use a cane. You may be visually impaired, hearing impaired, but no one should be excluded. So we must advance mobility across the settings as we age. So my call to action for each and every person under the sound of my breath, write your lawmakers, reach out. We must do better as a society and a community to ensure dignified, quality living. It is imperative. Thank you.
Dante Favors, everyone. What an inspiration. Powerful story. He's so inspiring. Does anyone have a question?
Someone.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. As you talked, I thought about the speaker who talked about how being out in nature is so important for individuals. And I can only imagine the difficulty that you have to participate in nature. Is there something we all can do to contact lawmakers, and what are some of the requests that we need to be asking for to help individuals be able to participate in the outdoors?
Who's being left out? And if anyone is being left out, the work is not done. We must reach out to our lawmakers. We must put them in our situation. I invite anyone to spend a day in a wheelchair, just a day in a wheelchair, to see how that is, see how you're being blocked, see how you're being left out. It's not a good feeling. It is not a good feeling. I recall going into a store one day to look at clothes, and I didn't have access to look at these clothes because they were too blocked. There was too much thing. They didn't think about, me. So I went to the establishment and said, I can't get through. They did take a little time to move things over, but they shouldn't have to do that, because what it does, it places a spotlight on people like me. We should be included in every design, every space, everywhere, because mobility is a right, but it's so often treated as a privilege. And that's what we need. We need to dismantle that. We need to dismantle it and crush it. It may not affect you today, but it may affect you tomorrow, next year. So we need to think about, in the mindset, what if it was them? Because again, I was a director of care. I overseen care of 75 people. I went from providing care to needing total care. We take it back to the house. I had a house built from the ground up. This house had yet to be constructed. However, I had to pay extra for wider doors for something that didn't exist. We need to make it a standard, because accessibility benefits everyone. Nobody's left behind. So thank you so much for that question.
Do you think things would get better if the ADA was rewritten from the ground up?
I think things will get better if the ADA was rewritten, and it was rewritten with bringing us to the decision, baby. Who best can assist in those that can relate, right? So they'll say have a door a certain amount of inches, right? And so they consider that ADA on paper, but in practice, in reality, is that really accessible? What may be accessible to one person may not be accessible to the next. So if they brought us to the decision table when they're putting these policies in place, I think we will see a lot of difference, but I think the ADA can definitely be revamped.
The ADA has so many ridiculous loopholes that leave people out.
We are left out the equation so far too often, but we are the largest minority group that exists in the world. And so again, we are a group that anybody can join at any given time. No one is excluded for becoming disabled. And aging is inevitable, right? And we want to live long, and if we live long enough, we will all age and we will all meet disability in some shape or so form. So I think if we place empathy and compassion at the forefront, I think that is where you get, people have to have empathy and compassion and understanding that the realization is we're living, and if we continue to live, we will age. And if we continue to age, we will meet disability if we hadn't already met it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mobility is a right. That's our mantra for today. We all will need access at some point. Thank you, Shantae. That was very empowering. Okay, as we continue with our mobility initiative panel, we'd like to welcome AARP as a guide for your driving world. You as the driving world you once knew changes. So as we age, our driving ability will change. Presented by Ann Lindsay, Michigan State Coordinator for AARP Driver Safety. Ann Lindsay is a retired educator of 35 and a half years. She's a school board member and state-appointed volunteer for AARP. Ann has trained as a fraud presenter and later trained to become a safe driver instructor. She was appointed a year ago as the AARP Driver Safety Michigan State Coordinator, entering her 13th year as an AARP volunteer, and has engaged in community outreach, assessment of school climates, and advocated for human rights. She is supportive of teen groups in the manner of tutoring, character building, and motivational speaking. In addition, Ann is a committee chairman of a professional organization that supports the American Heart Association, raising funds for their annual walk. Please welcome Ann Lindsay. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. What is common of our last four presenters, the words that they use that AARP definitely believes in. Change. Everything changes. Changes in as far as us aging, our health, seeing, hearing, all those things are wrapped up, what? When we drive. And the objective of AARP with their driver safety course or program is to make sure that all seniors stay safe on the road. Driving itself is very challenging for anyone, especially these days, because many of you may have had driver's training when you were coming up. A lot of folks on the road today don't have that, unfortunately. So we're going to just talk briefly about what AARP offers. I love this little mantra right here about the eyes on the road. We communicate in our cars. We as an individual, we are surrounded by a lot of steel, a lot of glass, all of those things. And we're not out there alone. There are a lot of other people there. So as we age, we have to be aware of what's behind us and in front of us and on the side. This is a quick glance of the volunteers that help AARP, the organization, stay up to tune as far as helping older people. The bottom line is we want to have a comfortable life, a vigorous life after retirement, continuing to enjoy to the best of your ability. And as you can see here, nationwide, all of these things and the people that are involved. And we've been going strong since 1979 as far as the driver safety program. Demographics change for drivers. Just real quickly, you'll see more people are driving, especially those 65 and older. A different world than when today's older drivers started out. No airbags. And think about it, not even seatbelts. I start thinking about when my family would take our daily trip down home. I'm from North Carolina, by the way, originally. There were no seatbelts. We're on the turnpike. You're out there. None of that. And so how many of you can remember that? Very good. Very good. DOT wasn't involved. Now they are, to make sure that the roads are safe. I know we complain about the construction every turn you go, but the whole point of construction is to make the roads better. A lot has changed. Vehicles. Raise your hand if your car can talk to you. If the car pulls you back into your right position if you're on the highway and you come out of it. Okay? Traffic laws. Your ordinary, we used to know as far as red means stop, green means go. But now you'll see there's a plethora of all kinds of signs. The beacon, the pedestrian beacon that can stop traffic or supposedly helps to stop traffic so they can get across. Roadways. I know everybody in here loves those roundabouts, right? Well, if you take the course, you will learn that the roundabouts are really special. They cut down on traffic as far as bumper to bumper, emissions, less accidents, and these are just statistics that have been proven. And as you can see, we ourselves change. Oops, sorry about that. Let me go back. Okay, that's good. The key to keeping up with change, again, is with the AARP Smart Driver Safety Program. First of all, the course itself, it refreshes your driving skills in a classroom or online. In the state of Michigan, they require you 8 hours for a certificate. In other states, it may be 4 or 6, depending on their legislature. But in our legislation, they require 8 hours. Also, you get that certificate, and possibly, if depending on your insurance, you may get a discount. I know personally of people who have gotten $300 off their premium and so on, but it depends on your insurance. How many of you think that AARP sells driver's insurance or car insurance? No, they don't. They vet the various car insurance people, but they don't sell it themselves. They may when I say vet, I mean that they make sure that insurance company is giving you good insurance, good premiums, and so they recommend it. And since they have such a good reputation, people go to those insurances. Along with the program, we have the Safe Trip, meaning this is a device, an app that kind of watches how you drive, tells you it's secret, nobody knows it but you and your app. And like it tells you, oh, maybe you were talking too much on your phone, or you didn't stop at that stop sign, that kind of thing. The Smart Driver Check, it's a free workshop. We used to have it in person, but now you can go online and it tells you about all of those new gadgets that are in your car. Car Fit. Now, Car Fit also is an educational program that helps you fit in your car properly. And I want to shine on Michigan and Car Tech because we had our coordinator who was asked to help train Michigan State troopers in the Upper Peninsula around Gaylord. And since it's kind of, rural and everything, a lot of the troopers from other areas came for that training and to properly fit people in a car. Also, how to use the car seats properly in a car. So that was really a great thing. And most of these persons who work with CarFit are PT or OT people and nurses, doctors, technicians, again, volunteers. We need to talk. There's one time or time in our life that you start noticing there's a little straight on your car, a bender on your car, what happened there on your car. You may notice people in your house, maybe in friends. You need to have the talk when you have to do what? Give up the keys. Especially, persons who have on the way home, but somehow they end up in Port Huron and someone calls your home. These are true incidents that I'm talking about as far as people that I know. And they had to take the keys away. And taking the keys away also kind of takes away some of the independence of seniors. So I'm going to continue with this. Again, going back, like riding a bike, refreshing your driving skills, update you in awareness of new road designs, traffic laws, and how to address, and to compensate for physical changes. In this course, you learn about as far as everything changes. Your eyes, driving at night, you may not do it as often. You got to change some things. You still want to be able to go out, but guess what we have? We have car shares. I know you can name one that begins with U. L, okay? Even in your local areas, you may have, like in Detroit, they have the Q line that can take you up and down around the areas. We have, I think it's Davies over there. They have road sharing where people can sign up. Drivers take them to specific things as far as people who are, have to go to the doctor, take children to appointments, the ride shares. Okay, again, I know I'm back and forth, but I just wanted to give you everything. The course for the driver safety is in person and online. The online is 8 hours. You got to do it online 8 hours. Again, why? The state of Michigan requires that. I just finished 2 classes. This is our shirt we wear. Like my shirt?
Yeah.
As we help make driving safe. Also, we have, they just tell you basically all of these things are research based in this course, from MIT to all the leading persons who know the National Transportation Board. All of those things are involved in this. This is what our course book looks like. You get to keep all of this good stuff. It talks about drugs, medicine. You know, how do you know, as far as when you take medicine and you mix it with alcohol, what happens? Do you know about BAC?
Alcohol count.
There you go. Close to it. Very good. Blood alcohol consumption, concentration, how it stays in your body. As you get older, these things stay in your body longer. 5 minutes. Okay, let me move it. This is the app I was talking about. CarFit, this is what I was talking about. The need to talk, the family conversation. Ride sharing, I just kind of mentioned that. You go online, get all these quick learnings. It tells you everything that you need to know. Changes, as you can see, when it rains, hydroplaning, all those things. You want to be a volunteer, pick out your phone, hit that QR code. That's one of my jobs, to help recruit instructors. And basically, you can do it. Yes, you can. Anyone. You don't have to be standing straight up. You can be in your wheelchairs, you can talk. And we do have people who are volunteers who have some disabilities. And the good thing about it, we only require you to do one class a year. But of course, you want to do more. And basically, that's about driving. Now, who can tell me what, first person who can tell me what AARP stands for? Say that again?
It used to be American Association of Retired Persons, but no longer. It's just AARP, correct?
No, that's what it stands for. That's the acronym.
Right. But I thought that we didn't use the words anymore.
Well, yeah, if you look in some things, they do see it, but that's the acronym for it. Did anyone else say it besides Miss Edith? Did you say it before her?
No, first, she said.
No, you win. Okay. I have a wonderful gift for you. But anyway, see me if you want, or do you have questions? That's right. Right. 2 questions. 1, none.
What is your stance on autonomous vehicles?
Okay. What is my stance? Mine or AARP?
AARP.
They still working on that. I myself, I don't know, because especially hearing about things that happened like in California, when things the autonomous vehicle got stuck, 2 of them, 3 of them, they were all there. It caused a traffic jam, that kind of thing. Did you see that? So I'm still with the AI and all of that. I'm still a little leery. I saw a hand back there. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank
I
you.
wonder if you can tell us the average age of enrollees for these classes, also the average age of when that talk happens. And I'm wondering if transit is in this mix at all. It seems like there is an end point where you shouldn't be driving anymore, and mobility can be accessed by transit. Is that part of this mix? Thank you.
Those are very good questions. The first one you asked, as far as age-wise, as far as the courses go, people come into the class anywhere from 50 to all the way 70, 80 taking the class. In fact, I've had persons in my particular class, well, in my class, come back for renewal because your certificate is only good for 2 years. And they come back for the renewal so that they can continue to get their insurance discount. Your second question was?
Average age of the talk.
Oh, for the talk. Well, the talk can be any age, especially when you start seeing changes in behavior. When people are driving, if they're irritable, if People go through a light more often than none. If you have persons, you start looking at their car. Is there scrapes? Did they go past something, put a dent? Those are kind of the evidence you start looking at. And you know, with dementia and things setting in our mind, there's no set age, but you should know anytime the average driver basically, because there are people who are driving 90 years of age out there still. They may be in the, we tell them to continue driving, they don't get on the expressway. They also to continue driving, they're not out there during busy time. They're able to plan their destination, know what they need to do, drive, come back. But around there, when things start happening, then you know it's time to have the talk. And you can't say, you can't drive, you got to stop. No, you got to do it in a way psychologically that they know that they're in control and they got to realize that they have to give up the keys. Anything else?
Yeah, one more. On Wednesday, a bill was introduced that would require anyone 75 years or older to have a written test and a road test every 4 years. Is there a stance? Does AARP have a stance on that?
I believe they're working on that because that's just coming out. And we know they're 75. Well, okay, I'm gonna leave that. 75 persons in this room are very able, if you're capable. But the state of Michigan does have a form of at your, at the, what is it? Yes, where you get your license and they realize that maybe you need to take a test. That's so that you can keep your license. But they have not come out yet, since Michigan is one of the first to kind of get this going. But statistically, they find that the adults, the older people are not the ones having the fatal accidents. It's other folks. The only area that adults, older people have a problem is at intersections. And when they're making left turns and they're not judging how fast that other car is coming, or they're not going fast enough to go around that turn. But we're living longer, we're physically capable, we're doing all those good things. So that's why you saw that statistics that more people are driving. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, well, thank you. And Lindsay, we appreciate you being here. And we're all going to be mindful as we leave here, driving is your gift. And there's some water there for you too. Thank you. That was great. We appreciate Yay AARP. Did everyone hear what it stood for? I don't know that American Association for Retired Persons. Which
And you were the first one that got it?
Oh, no, you don't have to give me a gift.
Lady back there?
Sure. He was gonna say it. All right, next, we move on to expanding community awareness of access of 211 for fall prevention, presented by Sarah Arena, who's a professor and director of physical therapy at Oakland University. Dr. Arena is a professor and director of the physical therapy program at Oakland. With over 35 years of clinical experience, her work emphasizes health promotion and prevention-focused care for older adults, as well as cardiopulmonary physical therapy. Her research centers on PT-led fall prevention initiatives and community-based interventions, supported by nearly $1 million in grant funding. She currently collaborates with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and Michigan 211 to develop a statewide evidence-informed fall prevention resource hub. Let's welcome Dr. Sarah Arena. It's not going. Michelle,
I'm sorry, I didn't click it.
it's not moving.
I got excited.
Should we click up here?
Well, while they're figuring that out, I do want to acknowledge that I'm from Oakland University, and we've had a lot of other green and white universities.
Yeah, we still love you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, you know, I'm going to just do a shout out. Some of you may or may not know, in 1957, Oakland University was Michigan State Oakland campus. So if you didn't know that, at some point we separated, but we still love our Oakland University. Go Grizzlies, right? All right. So as they mentioned, I'm Sarah Arena. I do want to give a shout out also to my colleague, Chris Wilson, who is a physical therapy faculty member, as well as the Associate Dean of the School of Health Science at Oakland University. This work is something we've done together in collaboration for over a decade. And we're excited now to partner and share with you some of the work we've done with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and Michigan 211, which is funded by the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. So I think we all know in this room that there's a growing rise of individuals falling, but it's partially because our population is aging is why those numbers are going up. And currently the statistics are 1 in 4 older adults will experience a fall annually. And how we're finding out about ways to prevent falls is done in many different ways. Sometimes it's in person, sometimes there's virtual sessions. There could be community-based or home-based fall prevention programs. There's the public health domain, the healthcare domain that are impacting this, as well as it's multidimensional, right? So there's physical abilities, there are environmental hazards, there's health-related things, and sometimes they're diagnoses specific. We know that certain diagnoses make us more at risk to fall. But we have a critical problem in Michigan. Many Michiganders lack the critical resources about the fall prevention resources available to them. And until recently, while other states had a centralized resource hub that you could go to find out about these programs in your area, Michigan really did this by word of mouth, happenstance. You happen to go to someone who knows about a program. And we really didn't have a good centralized fall prevention resource hub. So back in 2020, there was a Michigan Falls Prevention Coalition was established. It was actually established through the Kidney Foundation. It's now actually overseen by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And it has really grown into a robust network of resources for older adults and community individuals. And I think right now there's about 120 people from pretty much every healthcare system, every community. I know we have people in the Upper Peninsula, those of us down here in the Lower Peninsula. So there's lots of us that are on these calls when we meet every other month. And we identified 2 critical needs. We needed to identify and make available to Michigan residents valid, reliable fall prevention programs so that we had already kind of helped to vet them and develop a systematic, integrated, equitable way that people could access these resources. And so, as I already mentioned, we had received a grant at Oakland University to work with the MDHHS and 211 as part of the broader Michigan Falls Prevention Coalition. So I'm going to share with you some of the work we've done. I also am at a resource table. I have lots of these handouts over there, so feel free to come and chat with me after. So really what I'm presenting on today is a freely accessible resource hub that if you didn't know, you call 211 or you Google search 211 and you will find the Michigan Available Resource Hub that will help to connect all older adults, caregivers, healthcare providers, and communities on fall prevention. And we started our work almost 2 years ago, well, just over 2 years ago now, first listening to what older adults who are at the highest risk input from older adults throughout the state, including throughout the primarily communities in the Lower Peninsula, but we did also have some virtual sessions with those from the Upper Peninsula, as well as tribal communities, and really focused on how they would search for help, barriers that they currently had to finding programs, and what they would want in a program. We could spend a whole day today talking about some of these research outcomes, but let's just say in general, older adults wanted programs that met their needs and they wanted them to be individualized. And when they used them, they found them really helpful. So that was kind of what informed, and we spent about a year and have now launched an electronic resource that's available. I'll show you a video of that resource in a moment. I'll wait to to click into the link just to make sure we get to the video piece. This is what the cover page looks like. So if you go to Michigan 211 towards the bottom of the page, you would click right into the falls prevention resource. And so if all works well, we're going to try and watch one of these YouTube videos to tell you about this.
Fall prevention means taking steps to stay safe and avoid falling. You don't have to wait for a fall to happen before you get help. It's important to act early. Falls can be scary, but help is just a call or a click away. Dial 211 to connect with a caring expert who can guide you to a local fall prevention program.
I can definitely direct you to some resources. If you just provide me with your zip code, then I can see what's in your area.
Finding fall prevention resources is easy with mi211.org. Start by visiting mi211.org. Click on the fall prevention banner or go directly to mi211.org/fall-prevention. Enter your zip code to find balanced programs, home safety help, and more right in your community. In just a few clicks, you've got local support to help you stay confident and independent. If fall prevention resources are not yet listed in your area, don't worry. New resources are being added all the time. If you're using the phone, an operator can help connect you with resources or explore the MI211 website. Take the first step. Call 211 or visit mi211.org today and stay strong, safe, and independent.
All right, so hopefully you still have hearing after that. I apologize for that. We actually have 3 videos. One focuses just on the phone call, one on the electronic, like Googling, and then that one was both together. These are available for you to share with other individuals that we made as part of the grant work that we did. We also have, and I have lots of copies here today, a resource handout that the QR code will link you right into the web page. And as well as on a website I'm going to show you in a moment, this can be freely downloaded as a PDF and you can make your own copies to share or share electronically, with really the goal here of disseminating that this is even available. And if you know of groups in your area that want to be listed on 211, let's get them listed so that people will find out about them. So here's the Michigan Falls Prevention Coalition website, which we also created as part of the work we've been doing. So let's go to the page so I can give you just a really quick overview of what's now here. If you go to the, back up here, the Find Fall Prevention Near You, it will take you right into that resource page I mentioned. Lots of individual things here about the coalition's history, their mission and vision. But we're asking questions in person. We don't need to do that online. But there is also resources for the public, for professionals, fall statistics, which are put out by the MDHHS, that we now have a dashboard on fall statistics by region, by county, by area. That is available now on here, and we're updating that frequently as it's available. And then also the Michigan 211 resource, which I mentioned. Here is the PDF handout that you can download. Here are the videos I just showed you. Please share them away. And I know you're going to be excited about this. Today's presentation has actually been voiced over and is also now available on YouTube. So if you want to take this information back to your group, it's about a 15-minute video. It's me narrating it, probably slightly different than what I'm sharing today, but it'll give the overview of this to other individuals with the goal, again, of disseminating to everyone out in the community. We also are now on social media. If you have fall prevention related things that you would like us to post on our Michigan Fall Prevention social media, feel free to email those our way. Our email is within the Michigan Falls Prevention website. You can let us know about those and we'll be happy to share them. And as I also mentioned earlier, we have an ongoing effort to get more people built into this resource. We recently did a gap analysis. We do know there are areas of our state that at least the resource has gaps. And we know that not everybody is listed there that could be. So for those of you joining from Ishpeming, get us your information because there's a lot more in the rural communities, northern Michigan, as well as the Upper Peninsula, that we need more opportunities for even virtual or fall prevention programming that goes on in your area. I do want to also briefly talk a little bit about fall prevention. And we think of that as just maybe a class you might go to learn about things, but it does include many different things. It includes things like your home environment and having someone come in and helping to get grab bars or assess your lighting or make sure that you can safely get in and out of your home. So the environmental piece. It also includes some of the health things. You may or may not know that urinary incontinence is an increase for fall risk. And so there are pelvic floor physical therapists that can help with muscle strengthening and muscle stretching in the area of our pelvic floor that can actually reduce the burden of urinary incontinence. That is another thing that this resource will guide you to, as well as therapeutic types of things like physical therapists who specialize in fall prevention and community exercise programs like Tai Chi, Zumba, and a variety of different things. So it's not just fall prevention, it's all the things that make us at risk to fall that we can take action on early. So just a real brief note about something that's on the horizon. This year, we're doing quite a bit of research on adding a questionnaire to the 211 resource so that a person in the community could go in and answer a series of yes or no questions. Maybe they don't know what fall prevention resources they need. And so what they'll be able to do is answer questions, and the resource will actually guide them to, these would be the things that we might recommend as the highest. It doesn't take the place of healthcare, a healthcare consultation or a physical therapy consultation, but it will at least give people some ideas of things perhaps they haven't thought of and guide them to those pages. So if you want to participate in our research or your community center, let me know. We're looking for a few more sites, especially on the west side of the state and in the northern or upper peninsula areas of Michigan, to come to your site for a day and do some data collection there. And participants get a $50 gift card. So that might be a bonus. And we are welcoming new members in the Falls Prevention Coalition. So if this is something that interests you, again, you can go to that webpage, give us your information. We'll get you on our email chain, and we'd love to have you at our meetings. The NCOA in the last month has now recognized Michigan as a organized falls prevention coalition. Prior to that, we were one of 10 states that still had a developing coalition. So we've joined the majority now and actually have one, but there's more work to be done. So I will stop there and open it up for any questions that you have.
We have time for two.
I think it's extremely imperative that they go into like assisted living facilities. Group homes is not state ran. I had a fall at work. This is how I got in a wheelchair, and I worked at assisted living, for the aging elderly, where it was carpet on the stairs, loose carpet. Thinking they had someone come in to teach things like that they could prevent it, because it had been an elderly person that took that fall, they probably wouldn't be here. So I think that's really important. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone would be able to hear that, so I can kind of repeat, just kind of a recommendation that people could actually go into assisted livings, potentially group homes or different places to really do those home safety assessments in there. And there are occupational therapists, physical therapists, and home modification companies that do that. But people do need to make the reach out, and they may not need to know where to start looking. So we're hopeful this resource hub will help to give them at least a starting point of where to look for those.
I remember that you asked if AARP sells insurance, and the answer was no. But when you call Hartford Insurance, they really associate with AARP as part of it. My wife has a problem with stability and fall. She's tried three different fall brooches and stuff, and two of them, she fell with a brooch and it didn't respond. I apologize. I didn't look on your table over there, and I realize you don't endorse companies. It really, you tried. But is there any affiliation or you have anything on what might be considered a good fall protection unit that would work for people?
Yeah, so just to repeat the questions for those that aren't in the room, really looking for, do I have any recommendations as to fall alerts, right? The different devices that might alert someone that you've had a fall. Is that, my doing that? So hopefully our resource does have personal alarms as one of the items on there. I personally am also currently a caregiver for a adult parent who falls pretty frequently. Actually, I was in the hallway today dealing with an issue with the fall. I'll be honest, the main thing is having someone there that can hear about the fall and take care of it immediately. We do have an Apple Watch for him that will detect falls, but honestly, we have a lot of technology issues because his phone's a little outdated, so that doesn't work great. We have cameras in the home so that we can actually sense when those things happen. They help, but more to say, yes, it's time for me to call 911 than actually get him back up from the floor. And so there are many other companies as well. I've used some different ones. He sent most of them back. What I do recommend for myself is I have a watch. It's connected into my Google Home. And if I was to fall, I would push my watch that's on me. So there's a lot of commercially available things. I would call 911 through my Google Home unit and using my watch. So it can be from commercial to like Philips Life Alert is another one that a lot of companies use. I know I saw a graphic up here for Henry Ford Health. I know you recommend the Philips Life Alert. So I don't have a specific company to recommend, but keep trying. And 911 is always our best friend.
Sarah, there was also a comment online, not really a question, but a comment that this would be a great resource to have available at your annual Medicare wellness visit.
Yes, and we actually have different healthcare providers, including physicians on our group. We're hoping that when you walk into your doctor's office this year, you'll get one of our flyers sitting there so that they can help to recommend where to go for this. So I know many of the Lansing hospitals have people that represent the Michigan Falls Coalition as well. So let's get these in our office and let's spread the word. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah Arena from Oakland University. We love you anyway. But I was thinking that what we learned from Dr. Rizzi about walking in nature, that's probably a good fall prevention technique, isn't it? And how healthy that is. Okay, here we have our next speaker, our last but not least, we have our final mobility initiative panelists, the life-changing impact of mobility wallets and transportation RX, presented by Valerie Leffler. She's the executive director and founder of the Catch a Ride Network. Valerie Leffler is the founder and executive director of Phoenix Mobility Rising and the Catch a Ride Network, advancing equitable access to transportation through innovative mobility models. A national expert in rural mobility and mobility as a service, she has led deployment in 10 states with partners including Ford Philanthropy, the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center, Easter Seals, AARP, Toyota North America, and state departments of transportation. Recognized by Smithsonian Magazine as a top innovator to watch, she holds degrees in business and public administration from the University of Nebraska. Please welcome Valerie. Thank you. We're glad you could be here. There you go.
All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. I think I'm standing between you and lunch, and I know we're running a little bit over, so I'm going to keep my remarks to time. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer them, but also I'll be available all afternoon. So if you want to follow up directly. And I think in the introduction, the thing that I realized that shapes me the most, that maybe didn't make it into my bio, is I grew up on a dairy farm and firsthand experienced the transportation challenges and barriers as an employer, as a caregiver, and as a family, what that means. So thank you so much for the time to share about our program today. So we know here, everybody, this is no shock, that 1 in 5 adults in the United States face transportation insecurity. It is on par with food insecurity and housing insecurity, but we don't talk about it. 8% of US households have no vehicle. Many more are operating in vehicles that do not have insurance, are operating without driver's license, et cetera. And we know 40% of rural residents have no public transportation. And we know through the various policies and programs and procedures, and many times this labyrinth doesn't really work for a lot of folks. For example, the Veterans Administration, to provide service, you have to have a 30% service-connected disability. Many Medicare programs do not offer transportation as a benefit. For your health care, if you do not have Medicaid or you make just too much for the Medicaid, Medicare dual eligible service, you do not have transportation, but yet it is essential to access care and to live a full life. And so what we have done through investment of a number of partners, including the Michigan Department of Transportation, is created a solution we refer to as the Catch-A-Ride Network. And it really takes all the different transportation providers that are available in a community and makes them available through one interface, one app, one portal, and organizations that partner with us and use all of those providers get one invoice with every ride covered. We've given over 150,000 rides. We supported more than 1.6 million miles of mobility. And one of the things that we are absolutely passionate about at the Catch-A-Ride Network is that we want transportation to support the whole person. Nobody lives just to go to the doctor. Sometimes that trip to see your sister is even more valuable than going to see your therapist. Sometimes that trip to make sure your mom's okay is invaluable to your mental health. And so we want to look at all of the different ride purposes that are needed and partner with organizations that to support these needs. And just across the country and across the state of Michigan, just to show kind of a variety of different organizations. For example, in Wayne County, we partner with everybody from the United Way to Matrix Human Services to Community Builders, Focus Hope. We have a program launching this summer helping folks get to the parks with the partnership with Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency. In Washtenaw County, we have initiatives with Michigan Medicine focusing on perinatal and infant health. We help older adults get their pets to the Humane Society for vaccinations and if they need checked on, and everything in between. And whether it's an urban community or a rural community, we partner with a lot of different organizations to help access those transportation resources that are invaluable and provided in the community. To date, we have supported and partnered with over 140 different nonprofit organizations or community-based organizations. We have over almost 500 social workers, caseworkers, community health workers that are using this program and this technology to schedule rides for individuals served by their programs. We have almost 6,000 riders. We have 49 transportation providers ranging from DART or DDOT and SMART in Southeast Michigan, all the way to a woman-owned business that her and her sister run. And it's just the two of them and everything in between. So we support small business, public transit, large networks like Uber, et cetera, to ensure that there's a network of transportation resources available in the community. We have configured this mobility wallet that I'm going to tell you about 394 different ways. So this wallet is kind of like a set of funds that get put on an account. And some are for going to work, and some are for going to the doctor, and some are for rural communities, and some are for urban communities. And how you set up the wallet or the coupon structure or the EBT card of transportation really can vary based upon the program partners and their priorities. And then we've given almost 5,200 wallets. And we've had funding put in these wallets from a broad variety of partners, ranging from hospitals to private sector companies to major organizations like Stand Up to Cancer and the National Institute of Health, and really trying to understand the cost associated with transportation is often the barrier. We ran a program in collaboration with AARP across Ann Arbor, Michigan, Dallas, Texas, and Columbia, South Carolina. We deployed this super fancy technology. And what we learned is it wasn't the app, it was the funding. It was the cost. It was a woman living on $800 a month, and she had to decide when she went to get her prescriptions what she wasn't going to get in her grocery cart. And so we have to think about the cost associated of those rides, even if it is $2. If you're going to dialysis 3 days a week, that's $6 a day. That's $18 a week. You divide that over the month, that comes out of your budget and adds up significantly. How do we create ecosystems, and how do we raise money for transportation as much as we raise money for housing, as much as we raise money for food insecurity? That mobility to access those resources is essential. And so what mobility as a service is really tying all the options together, so that based upon how you're feeling that day, the weather that day, who's with you that day, you can decide the transportation that works best for you. And you don't have to guess who's showing up to pick you up. It's not an algorithm making that decision. It's you. What transportation options do you prefer? There was a veteran that we were serving in Washtenaw County, Michael, and he was in the military and had a helicopter accident. And he said, I went into the military 5'7", I came out 5'5". He'd crushed his spinal cord. And he loves riding public transit. But if the bus is busy, he has to stand, or he wants to stand because he's going to let the women sit down. Well, he's holding on to the top. Anybody had a back injury where you've had to stand and hold something above your head and the feet underneath you are moving? He said the pain was absolutely excruciating. So he stopped riding. Then he was diagnosed with cancer. And his treatment required him to go 5 days a week, an hour-and-a-half bus ride, 2 transfers each way. He said, I would rather die than endure that pain, standing, getting up and down on the bus 5 days a week for 3 weeks. He's like, it's not worth it. I cannot endure it. He would literally eat a handful of hydrocodone to try and make it to his first couple appointments before he said, I can't do it. We were able to provide him a mobility wallet. On the days that he could take a quick bus ride to go grab some groceries, he was able to do that because he knew when the bus schedule would allow him to sit down on the bus. He was able to use an Uber to go check on his sister, who lived 30 miles away, also at the end stages of her life. And those care that he was able to decide what type of transportation that worked for him and his health was transformative. And how this technology works, if the technology gods will shine on us, huzzah, how about that? How the technology works if you're using an app. We also have a call center. A lot of folks call us. But the app works the same way if you've ever used a wayfinding app. You put in your pickup and drop off address, right? And then based upon that pickup address and the time of day and the day of the week that you want to travel, bada boom, bada bing, it will only recommend transportation options that are available based upon those specific parameters. You don't have to guess, is this provider available after 6 to go to this place? Does this provider offer these resources? You can add your mobility options to make sure that if you are a wheelchair user or you need door-to-door support, those transportation options show up. We also request a trip purpose, because the organizations that are funding these rides often are using grant dollars or donor dollars, and they want to be able to show where those rides are headed. And then once you have all that information in the trip request, it will actually give you the list of options for you to select from, not an algorithm, you. You can also add notes. So if you, for example, we have a lot of folks who use stadium taxi and green cabs, and they have certain drivers that they like. So they'll put in the notes that the dispatcher, I really like this driver. Doesn't mean they always get that driver. So then they can see these are the different options that are available, and they can request that pickup and drop off address, or they can request that transportation option that works best for them. And then that comes out of their mobility wallet, the funding that was put there from the various partners and sponsors, and their logo is displayed. There's also an online platform for organizations to book rides on behalf of individuals. So whether I'm requesting the trip or the organization is requesting the trip, like Washtenaw County Veteran Services, those trips can be provided, and they get the same option in the computer portal as the rider does in the app. For example, here's a mobility wallet that we put together. This is focusing on perinatal and infant health. There are a lot of different transportation options available, whether they want to use public transit, Uber, local rural transit like the Wave, or small businesses like Gemini or Loving Touch that serve the PACE Coalition. In other partners with programs, they serve and they have a very specific initiative or they want to focus only on a certain type of app. United Way has an employment program that they only provide bus passes, but those bus passes are covered through their programs. And we offer this in ways that work for the organization to serve the community. So whether they want full service and it's a small organization with one part-time person, or you need just the technology and you just want to use it to save your social workers or case managers time in requesting those trips, they can book it internally. And then with the mobility wallets, I can schedule the ride, you can schedule the ride, you can call in to schedule the ride, or the community partner can schedule the ride. It's a team effort. And the benefits, we know this makes a big difference. And what we see with the Catch a Ride Network is the access to all social determinants of health. So with non-emergency medical transportation, many times you're really limited in where you can go to serve your community or to participate. But Catch a Ride basically breaks down across all of those needs. And we've seen the impact of providing these mobility wallets. We had a pilot program with Washtenaw County, and they provided mobility wallets for older adults and ranging from anywhere from $150 to $450 a month for 6 months. 82.5% said their mental health improved by being able to go and get where they need to go. 58% said their physical health was better. 75% said without the program, they would struggle to get access to groceries. 75% also roughly said they would struggle to get to non-medical appointments, and so on and so forth. And the impact of these funds changes lives, but most importantly, it's the autonomy that this provides. So what we're doing with the Catch a Ride Network is really focusing on 4 key areas as we're scaling the program over the next couple of years for veterans, perinatal infant health, employment workforce, and older adults. And for each area, we are partnering with community-based organizations, employers, local governments. We're applying for grants. We're building relationships with corporate partners and volunteer networks. We're building a task force of leaders to identify what's the ROI, what are the KPIs, to inform impact and also policy. An algorithm should not determine your ride to the doctor. So if anybody's interested in participating in our task force or helping us fundraise, we would love to be a part of that. And with that, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I appreciate this time.
Do you have any questions? Are there any questions for Valerie?
Is this app statewide and how does a person sign up?
Pardon, say that one more time.
The app statewide and how does a person sign up?
Yeah, so currently the app is working in and through partnerships in Wayne, Washtenaw, Jackson, Hillsdale, Lenawee, and we're just expanding into Oakland, but we have a goal to be statewide. So if there are folks from other counties that are available or here that would like to talk about bringing the technology to the community, we can write grants to state departments of transportation or other foundations or other partners. So if it isn't here now, we would love to discuss and brainstorm together with the transportation partners that are here today and other community agencies.
Hi, a quick question. In your model, is there room for private funding of a wallet? You know, perhaps someone funding a wallet for their parent or an employer funding a wallet for a worker.
Yes, we do have folks who will fund a wallet for their brother, their mom, and they would just pay with a credit card, and we're able to do that. We also have opportunities where we're actually working on a grant right now to kind of create this program as almost like an EAP program with employers, where you get started and you get 6 months of a mobility wallet to help you get to that interview, help you get to those first few paychecks. Maybe those first couple paychecks are hitting the bank account and is zero, but you still need to get to work. It takes a little bit of time to get through that. So we're actually exploring some partnerships with Eagle and Leo right now. Thank you.
Any fundraisers to invite private people to donate?
Yeah, I think the question is, do we have fundraisers we could invite people to? We're actually getting ready to organize those this year. We have a meeting with our board in April, and we have several members of our board here in Michigan who will be reaching out. So if you're interested in learning more about those, I'd love to give you my card and we can reach out and have conversation. Thank you.
It looks like that's it, and we are ready for lunch. I'd like to thank Valerie so much for being here. And did we all notice the big gap? Where is Ingham, Eden, and Clinton County? The Tri-County is missing from her list, so maybe we'll get to do something about that today with her being here. So thank you, everyone, for your attention. We know you're hungry and need to walk around. The restrooms are on both sides of this room. And as you go for your lunch, please enter from over here. Where Chris is waving her hand, we'll have you enter in through here, and then you'll come back around this way. And enjoy your lunch, and we'll be back at 1 o'clock to give our awards. Thank you so much. Yeah.
My friend, same work to do. Yeah. There's a lot of us, but I've heard, so it's. No. Well, when I go home, I have to walk the dog. Oh, here you go. I'll get my. Are insane. I am seriously. Oh my gosh.
I know. No,
they're just.
What if you? Oh, hi.
Oh,
thank you.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah, because the lawyers have to interview with them, but
yeah,
it would be great if there was a tie-in.
Great. Going up.